If this happened in Venezuela or Russia, every American news channel would call it a coup. So why does the US call it Hawaiian history? If armed businessmen forced the US president to sign away his power at gunpoint, we'd call it a coup, a national emergency, an act of war. So why do we call the same thing in Hawaii just history? Here's what they buried in the footnotes. Most people think Hawaii's monarchy was overthrown in 1893. Wrong. The kingdom was gutted 6 years before that, and almost nobody talks about it. In 1887, a group of armed militia members surrounded King Kalakaua in his own kingdom and handed him a document. The message was simple: sign it or else. No negotiation, no debate, just a pen, a threat, and men with guns. That document became known as the Bayonet Constitution, and the name tells you everything. It ripped executive power out of the king's hands and dropped it directly into the laps of wealthy foreign businessmen, most of them deeply tied to the sugar industry. It imposed property requirements specifically designed to push native Hawaiians out of the political process, while handing voting influence to non-citizen residents who happened to be rich and white. Let that sink in. Non-citizens could vote. Native Hawaiians effectively could not. So ask yourself the real question. If a leader signs a document while surrounded by armed men, is that governance, or is that a hostage situation? Was this about bringing democracy to Hawaii, or was it about making sure the right people controlled the land, the sugar, and the money? And here's the one that should keep you up at night. If this happened today, on camera, in any country on earth, would any American politician call it legal? 1893 didn't come out of nowhere. The overthrow of the monarchy wasn't a sudden event. It was the closing act of a takeover that had already been in motion for 6 years. By the time Queen Liliuokalani was removed from power, the kingdom had already been hollowed out from the inside. History isn't just dates and names. It's about who held the gun, who signed the paper, and who wrote the textbook afterward. Drop your thoughts below. Share this with someone who still thinks Hawaii peacefully became a state. And follow this page if you want the history they decided you didn't need to know. Comment coup if you believe 1887 was the real beginning of the end. Comment reform if you think the story is more complicated than that. Either way, talk about it. That's exactly what they hoped you wouldn't do.